Hi, I'm Justin. I'm a producer, video editor, and cameraman here at Northrup Photo, and we recently went to California, just kind of went up and down the Pacific Coast Highway, went to San Francisco and such, but a lot of people were wondering what's in my bag, being the cameraman producer. We'll start with my camera choice. Panasonic GH5, love this camera. I've always thought that the Panasonic line, the GH4, GH5, even the older cameras that we use in the studio downstairs, GH2 used to use, they're all pretty good. Love the layout, love the way the buttons feel, and I love the performance, the 4K 60 frames per second. It just looks great. This is my lens that I used the most often in California, and it's just kind of my go-to lens whenever we're out and about filming in general. It's the 14 to 140 millimeter Lumix lens. I really like the reach. You know, at 14 it's pretty wide, but 140 you can get really nice and tight on things, and with the lens image stabilization, it tends to take quite a bit of shake out of things. Paired with the GH5 with its IBIS, then it gets really smooth, even at some of these longer focal lengths. Furthermore, the GH5 does have a crop mode that they've added, and so it just makes it a little bit of a tighter focal length with any lens, actually. This was my preferred bag. This is the Peak Design Everyday Messenger bag. It's the 13-inch one. And one of the things I really like about this bag is this top zipper feature. So when you're on the go, you could be wearing the bag or carrying the bag and quite easily just unzip this, reach in here, and then you have all your access to everything without having to open up the bag. But with this bag, there's a add-on that we've added. It's this Peak Design clip here as well. This was really useful. I hadn't used one of these yet, but Tony had recommended it, and it just made it very convenient. I could just clip my GH5 right on, and it's nice and firm and secure. If you were going to be walking quite a bit or something, there is an actual safety here that you can tether it to this clip, and furthermore, you can also lock down the clip here and just kind of adjust how tight it is against the bag. So I thought that was a nice feature. This Peak Design bag, going back to this, it has these metal clips here. They seem to be made from some strong magnets, so I thought that was really handy how it could just pop right open, and they're still forceful enough with the magnets that your bag wouldn't be, you know, spilling open if it rolled over, and I thought that was just something that was really nice. Digging into the bag a little bit here, well, we have this new device here. This is the Yi 4K action camera. This is really neat. It's about the size of a GoPro, only it records 4K at 60 frames per second. So basically every camera we were using, with the exception of the EM1 Mark II, was 60 frames per second, and so far the video footage just looks beautiful. We're really happy with these choices here. For this Yi 4K action camera, we also have a motorized gimbal. It's really pretty straightforward. It has an odd set of batteries, so it's like not AA batteries. You put it in here and then you are going to charge it USB, but it does do a really good job. There was minimal setup involved. We were able to just stick this on the front of a vehicle and it seemed to balance itself out just fine. My only complaint is it seems like they should have come up with a better way to encase the camera itself. This thing just sucks. It's such a pain to try to get the camera in. I don't know why they would use these like thinly threaded screws, but other than that, it's a pretty neat little device. Okay, just a few more lenses that I was carrying with me in California. This is the Olympus 9 to 18 millimeter ultra wide lens. It's kind of convenient because it's one of those lenses that sort of folds into itself, and once you unlock it, it expands out to the size it's supposed to be. But as far as traveling, it's just convenient how it can kind of collapse upon itself. There's this other lens that we use quite a bit. It's the 12 to 35 millimeters. It's also a Lumix lens, so it's quite similar to this other favorite of mine. This also has optical image stabilization, which is very nice. And yeah, these are both great lenses. I love both of these lenses for these Panasonic cameras in particular. Okay, moving on to our audio things. We have, this is the Rode VideoMic Pro, and it's powered by a 9-volt battery. You just mount it to the hot shoe on whatever camera you're using is, and it does, obviously you can turn it on and off, so you can turn it off when it's not in use. It's shock mounted, so it's a little bit of a pain because this shock mount will come undone occasionally, and you know, it takes 5 minutes to put back together, but the quality of this mic was really very good. It also has three adjustable decibel settings on the back, and it does also have a high pass filter at the top here for getting rid of, you know, low end rumble from vehicles or air conditioning or something like that. But this mic did the trick in a lot of situations where we didn't necessarily have time to put lab mics on, or just wanted nice ambient sound when we were on the go. For our lav mics, we actually switched over to the Sonys right before we left for California, and these mics performed really well. It's nice that they're USB chargeable, so if your battery starts running low, they're pretty easy to charge via USB. And one, or actually two of these transceivers will talk to one of these receivers. So it's just less clutter in terms of, you can mount these like with your hot shoe, and you only need one of these units. You don't need both of them like the Sennheiser G3s that we would typically use out in the field. Yeah, these mics are great. I don't, at the time, have any real complaints about them. We had them feeding into this, however. This is the Tascam DR70D. This is also able to be powered via USB, but it does run on 4 AA batteries typically. What's neat about this is it has 4 of these Northrup XLR hybrid plugs. So you could either put 1/4 inch or XLRs going right into it, like we've done here. And I had each one of my mics going out from the receiver here, going into this thing. This enabled me to, well, I had 2 mics pan to the left, 2 mics pan to the right with 4 people, and then I could quickly adjust their levels, or just cut them off completely if, say, Tony or Chelsea were giving a specific lesson, something like that. But this has been really cool. This also saves everything on an SD card, and these batteries, these 4 AA batteries, it just seemed to run all day for something like 8 to 10 hours was the first time that we had exhausted the batteries of just continuous use, recording the whole time. This little thing is really neat. It also has 2 onboard microphones, and it has your tripod thread here, and same for the top. So if you want, it's fairly easy just to screw into the bottom of your camera there. Once we would mix the audio in here, I would have these 4 mics mixed to a stereo out, coming out of this cable. This ribbon cable in particular was actually pretty handy because it's so flexible. And this would just feed out from this bag and go right into my camera. So I was able to walk around with this bag on my shoulder and monitor sound the whole time, and it seemed to have worked pretty well. These are just my iPhone headphones. I happen to use these because they're inexpensive and it won't bother me if I damage them or lose them or something like that. And the quality is good enough. It's just good enough to hear everyone that I need to hear at any rate. As a backup mic, we have these Rode SmartLav Plus mics, and these are pretty straightforward. You plug them into your iPhone, and then you can record your talent, just treating it as a lav mic. So this is a little different. This connector right here, it has these 3 rings, so that's going to connect with your iPhone. It's a little different. You typically see like 2 rings on a lav mic, so that's just something to keep in mind, is that this is a different connection than what you would feed into something like this down here. But needless to say, we used these quite a bit on our last trip, and I've always thought they sounded great and thought they were well worth the price. So it was the Rode SmartLav Plus. Also, walking around San Francisco and California, it could certainly be blustery at times. We have dead cats. Basically, these are just windscreens that you'd put on the end of your lav mic here, and they wind up being pretty effective. This would be a big mistake to leave these because you don't often need them, but if you don't have them when you do need them, it can really ruin your sound. We've learned that the hard way. So we just kind of keep these everywhere we go at this point. We also kept several of these USB chargers. These are not only great for, actually this has, the wires are all self-contained, so it's real convenient as far as charging your iPhone goes, but in addition to your wireless devices, it was great for stuff like this task cam. We had tons of these with us at all times. Okay, moving on. We clearly needed a way to charge our batteries, so I had 2 of these AA chargers here. Tony had actually picked up these new Eneloop Pro AA batteries that supposedly just have a little bit better of a life and tend to hold power a little better. So we got about 8 or 16 of them before we left, and used these the majority of the time, and these new high power Eneloops have been great. We also had, using 2 GH5s, we wanted different ways to charge many batteries at once. So in addition to the regular GH5 battery charger, we brought one of these along. It's just a simple dual GH4 GH5 battery charger that is USB powered. It did seem to take a little while to charge 2 of these, and I'm not entirely sure it charged them as well as a regular charger would have, because I would notice if I put these on the regular Panasonic brand GH5 charger that it would still charge for another half hour or so, but it's good enough. It really just allowed us to charge a whole bunch of these batteries in a relatively short time, which was exactly what we needed. We had some of these. So this was convenient to just keep your pre-charged batteries in these, I guess they're sort of, you could call them like a battery magazine or something. And then you can swap them out on the go, and it'll just give you a couple extra seconds of time. And so you're not fussing with pulling batteries out of their cases here and switching them around. And also pretty easy to note which batteries are used and which ones are new. I would often just put them in a different section of my bag, and it helped me keep things straight that way. San Francisco had a lot of kind of chintzy tourist shops, especially around the Fisherman's Wharf area. So I did wind up getting this knife. I didn't really use it a whole lot on the trip, but it seems to be a really cool knife. It was like $20, and I use it pretty regularly with shipping, cutting up cardboard boxes, that kind of thing. It's a lot of fun. I also just got a cigar to help me relax at the end of the night. Sometimes Tony will have a cigar with me too. But yeah, this is basically everything that was in my bag. Last but not least, there's this Manfrotto bee-free tripod. This is the video tripod in particular. It does have a leveling head, but it also has this pan and tilt function, which is really nice. And I also reviewed this, I don't know, a few months ago. So there's the link if you are interested in seeing the full review for the Bee-Free Live, it's called. That's about it. That was everything in my bag for this last trip we had to California. If you're interested in books, apparel, videos, anything like that, please go to northrup.photo. We have a store where you can check all that stuff out. And if you like this video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And thank you for your time.